Hello, my name is Lisa Cooper. I am currently a student at Liberty University, and I'm getting my cognate in military resilience. And one of the issues that I can remember having being a military spouse, because I was married to my husband for 24 years of his 30-year career as a Marine, was employment. And it wasn't just me. I mean, I would talk to other military wives, and they would all say the same thing. They would all be working. I would talk to people who were, working in fast food, and they would have a degree, but they couldn't find a job. A lot of I talked to one lady. I worked with her at a child development center, and she had a master's degree in social work, and she was having trouble finding a job, but she needed to work. So that's why I wanted to talk to you today as the Military Spouse Employment Partnership Organization and let you know why your services are so important to us. I'm going to talk a little bit about the military spouse and the employment status and psychological well-being. The unemployment rate for spouses married to military personnel is higher than the rate for their civilian counterparts, and most of these military spouses feel that the military lifestyle has harmful effects on their educational and employment options. In some of the studies that I have run across, military wives are referred to as trailing wives, as well as tied migrants, meaning that they trail around after their husbands, follow them around, and they move a lot. And that's true. Unfortunately, trailing wives and tied migrants has a bit of a negative connotation for me, and I didn't really like them too much. But these terms actually do reflect the negative effect that moving has on a civilian spouse's career. And not only that, but the economic status of the entire family, because unfortunately in the military, the family has to give a disproportionate amount of weight to the husband's employment. And talking with military spouses, there's a lot that are very unhappy with this. And I've found that the more senior the service member, in other words, the higher the rank, the more likely the spouse was to be unhappy with their work opportunities. More than 3/4 of the senior officer wives perceive a negative impact on their employment opportunities. Now, what are some of the reasons for the higher unemployment rate? Well, first of all, there's frequent moves. We all know the military moves quite a bit, and I know personally we probably moved about 10 times during my husband's career. That didn't count the little bitty moves from moving off base to on base. So yeah, there's a lot of moving going on. And we had to be just constantly prepared to move. And I mean, the military relocates probably about every 2 to 3 years. Some of the research has shown that frequent location is one of the most serious issues facing spouses who want to work. The average military spouse has more education than her or his counterparts, but they make approximately $5,000 less a year than the civilian sector. Research has also discovered that wives who have postgraduate education, if they are married to military members, her probability of full-time employment drops from 80% to 61%. Unlike men, too, who rely on professional networks for employment opportunities, women, we tend to rely more on informal networks, on personal networks, on local networks. So we have a tendency to find it a little more difficult to find a job than do our male spouses. One spouse even made a comment that when she was at the end of her husband's career, that she had literally put her life on hold for 20 years, and she was overeducated and underexperienced. And I could identify with her. That's exactly what I felt like. A lot of times when we deployed, because I couldn't find a job, I would end up going to school. But unfortunately, even with that, I had trouble finishing, because then we would have to deploy. And back then, they didn't have online programs like they do now. Now it's a little bit easier. And then the wives also do a lot of volunteering, just to kind of keep up their skills, which is good because they learn a lot. So they have a lot of education and they have experience. Another reason for the unemployment rate is lengthy deployments. The military member, he's gone for long periods of time. And even when he's not actually deployed, there are all these little absences to account for during the year, just schools that they might have to attend, TDY, like little training exercises they have to go to. It could be anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. But when they are deployed, then what happens? Well, we as the spouse end up being mother, father, husband, wife, everything you can possibly think of. We have to take care of it all. It's exactly being like a single parent. Although I have to be honest, I think being a single parent would be much harder because of the lack of the additional income. But if we're not working as military spouses, then we're missing 2 incomes as well. Another problem, of course, due to lengthy deployments as well, is child care responsibilities. I mean, let's face it, women are the one who is the primary caregiver when it comes to children. And when the husband is deployed or he's gone, then she has to take on all these added responsibilities. She takes on the role of both mother and father. And this is an expectation for women in general. You know, we are to put ourselves and our children second to our husbands and their career. At least that's the way I felt. So that's what I did. And unfortunately, I mean, I was grateful that I could stay home with my children when they were little, because I didn't have the support system I needed for child care. So I don't know. It's very difficult. It would be nice if we could be employed and we could afford to pay for good child care, but a lot of times in the jobs that are available to military spouses, they can't afford child care, not good child care, and that can make a big difference. There's also the big stigma. You know, employers do not want to hire military spouses. I mean, it's just kind of, it's common knowledge. Spouses are usually stereotyped as transient workers, and they know that, you know, they're not going to be there very long. I read some quotes from some spouses who kind of sum this up. One lady said when she went to apply for a job, as soon as they found out she was military, they didn't want to hire her because they knew she was going to be leaving eventually, and they wanted someone who was going to be there for a while. Another one made a comment that employers don't like to promote too much if they know you're a military spouse because, well, they think you're going to leave. And they even hesitate to spend money to train you if they know that you're not going to be there. And one lady, she went to get a job, and the employer just flat out told her, "We would love to hire you. You are a great person to hire, but we can't because of your situation. Your husband's in the Navy, and we need someone who can be here long term." So, I mean, even studies that have been conducted show that the civilian community sees a military spouse as someone who will not separate from her spouse to remain in a position with their company. And she shouldn't have to. Now, what are the benefits for military spouses who are employed in a meaningful career? Well, number one, obviously, dual income. An additional income is often very necessary, particularly when you're first starting out as a family, because there are so many more added expenses. And the military does not make lots of money. Compared to their civilian counterparts, their wages are a bit lower. So you still have to, I mean, they qualify for assistance, welfare assistance, when they're young like that, because they just don't make that much money. And when you've got bills to pay, you need that additional income. As a matter of fact, there was a study conducted by Wardensky in 2000 who found that the military spouse income accounts for about 40% of the total household income. Now, that's almost half. That's a lot. And if you've been working and you have to leave and move somewhere else, then you have lost nearly half of your income. And if it takes a year or so for that spouse to be employed, well, you can imagine. I mean, they've probably gotten behind in their bills. They may have credit issues. It can, and then once that happens, it causes strain on their marriage. They begin to argue more. The family starts to break down. So it can make, employment is a very big issue, and it can make or break a relationship. And of course, finances have been found to be the most important reason for needing to work, and in a lot of cases wanting to work, because they want the extra income. They want to be able to have a better quality of life, which is my next topic. In a study by the U.S. Marine Corps Quality of Life in 2002, the most satisfied families were those who derived at least 1/4 of the household income from something other than the active duty pay. In other words, if the spouse is working, then there's additional income. They can pay their bills, and they might even actually have a little bit left over to go out and have some fun, some recreational money. There was a study that also found that one of the best reasons for the quality of life for a military spouse appeared to be spouse job and professional development. And a Navy spouse stated she had a college degree, but she made this statement that is very true. She said, "His career has flourished, and mine has had to take a back seat. Up to this point, I've been out of work 9 years due to relocating." And when you're out of work that long and you intend to go back, oh goodness, it's tough. And that's what happened to me. I wanted to go back to work when my children got older and we got settled down. My husband got a little higher in rank. We weren't deployed as often. And I put in resumes, filled out applications. I even tried to get a seasonal job at a popular restaurant and store, and I could not. I was not hired because I just didn't have the background, the employment background. It was kind of tough, and it happens to all military spouses. And also, whenever an individual works, the mental outlook of that person just increases tremendously. The most important reason to work, obviously, is finances, as we've already talked about that. But the second most important reason is simply just to keep busy, to avoid boredom. When you stay at home day in and day out, oh my goodness, even if you're with children, it's rough. You begin to feel kind of unimportant and rather frumpy, and you just don't feel like you're a contributing member of society at all. And unfortunately, if you're not working, you tend to be a second-class citizen. And some of the reasons people don't want to stay home is they just can't see themselves sitting at home all day. A lot of people want to work because it fulfills them. It gives them stimulation. It establishes their independence. It gives them greater access to time structure, to social contact. That's where you gain your friends a lot of times, is through working. It gives you a purpose, and we all need a purpose. It gives you some status. Like I said, if you're not working, a lot of times you're considered to be a second-class citizen. So it improves your status. And once again, it also provides better financial means, which altogether enhance our self-esteem, and it just provides us with a better mental outlook. Now, there are negative effects, obviously, of the inability to find meaningful employment. You take what we just talked about and you apply the opposite. A woman's psychological health suffers. But you know what, I'm saying woman here, but there are male spouses too. But it seems that male spouses, they are a little bit more employable, I guess, than women. And I have known male spouses who have been able to get, a job, and they like their job. And that helps tremendously. But I've also known male spouses when we were in Okinawa who wasn't able to get a job. And he even left Okinawa early to come back to the States in order to gain fulfilling and lucrative employment. And that, that causes an issue. It disrupts the family when one parent is gone. All of this can cause depression. I mean, according to some studies, military spouses, unfortunately, tend to withdraw when really they need to be doing just the opposite. So this lack, though, of social interaction can be really detrimental. And having employment seems to counteract that mentality. Studies have also shown that a military spouse who is employed outside the home is happier, and she's healthier, and is more capable of supporting her military spouse. And supporting, I mean mentally, emotionally. She is better prepared to help him and to support him in whatever he needs to do. Even cross-sectional and longitudinal studies indicate that being an employed mother, along with being a wife, was associated with better physical and psychological health than being unemployed. A study conducted in 1986 over a 4-year period indicated that depressive symptoms were much greater among unemployed women. And a lot of times, excuse me, when your psychological health does suffer, you'll suffer from low self-esteem. There was an Air Force spouse, I read a comment that she made, and she said, I have the disposable jobs. I have the jobs that can easily be discarded and moved. Those are the kind of jobs that do not have a lot of purpose to them. They don't have a lot of meaning. They're not very fulfilling. And oftentimes, I see spouses, educated spouses, who are employed in these types of jobs. She also states, or Wilson, Summer Wilson, who did her dissertation on this, stated that she found that many military spouses are underemployed, meaning they're working part-time as opposed to full-time, which they would really like to do, and they're working in jobs for which they are overeducated, and they're working in jobs that doesn't even allow them to use their experiences. And I have seen this even now. We are retired, but we still live in a military town, and I still see this. Women who are overqualified for some of the jobs that they have, and I've seen women who couldn't get a job because they were told they were overqualified. It's like a vicious circle. And all of this, if you're depressed, and we all know what depression is, and this is what happens when your esteem goes down, you're not having any social contact, you have no purpose, and if you're with children all day, and we love our children. I mean, they are our lives, and I'm so grateful that I got to stay at home with mine when they were very small. But there comes a time when you need some adult companionship, and it helps. It helped my children when I worked, because they were able to do more things financially. And they were able to have the nice shoes and maybe the nice pants, and it can make a big difference in your entire family. And after this, once you start experiencing those depression symptoms, and you've got low self-esteem, and you can't pay your bills, so you start getting really stressed out, and your whole physical well-being will suffer then. It causes stress, it causes anxiety, often because of the financial strain, and this can lead to poor health. I mean, when your body is stressed out, your adrenaline gland is constantly releasing hormones, which releases adrenaline, which makes your heart beat faster. And a person can only handle so much of that before there's some permanent change going on. And of course, the economic status of the family decreases. I mean, the average military spouse has more education but makes approximately $5,000 less, but at least she's working. So there is an income coming in, and she does feel better about herself. And I always try and look at things from a Christian perspective. Being a Christian, it helps my outlook. I don't know what I would have done without it during many, many times in the military. But to talk about some scriptures regarding this, Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 through 25 promotes the institute of marriage. And it talks about how God felt that man, being Adam, should not be alone. He needs a mate. He needs a helper, someone that's comparable to him. So the first and foremost thing is God, he promotes the institute of marriage. He wants to see marriages succeed. He wants to see women and men who complement each other and who are able to build each other up. And a lot of times, a dual income helps do this. I know it made a difference for me. When I'm employed, I feel better about myself, and I feel good about the future, and therefore I'm able to be a better mate for my spouse. Then to move on to Proverbs 31 is an entire chapter pretty much devoted on how important it is to have a wife of noble character. And what do we mean by noble character? Well, a wife who is industrious, it speaks of that. She helps her husband so that he will have no lack of gain. It means that a noble woman is wise. She's strong. She's kind, and she's honorable. And she prepares for the future, and she takes care of her home. That's very important to women. And if it means going out and getting a job, then so be it. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. Oh, okay. And also Matthew 12, verse 25, talks about the division in the household. It warns against divisiveness. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So in essence, when employment becomes a serious issue for couples, whether it's be financial or otherwise, there's going to be problems. Meaningful employment can be a strong benefit and a strong predictor of a strong marriage. Okay, this is where you come in. Military Spouse Employment Partnership. We are so grateful that you exist. And I know that there are many, many companies that belong to this partnership. And I know that there are many more getting ready to jump on the wagon. But you are very important to the military spouse. You provide them with better health. You provide them with jobs, which results in better health, mentally, physically. It results in higher self-esteem. It results in less depression, which has a very positive effect on the family itself. And because of that, it has a very positive effect on the military member, which in turn has a positive effect on the military. So you are helping the military in more ways than one. One of the reasons, too, that military personnel leave the military, they decide to get out, is this very issue. It's lack and limited of employment opportunities for their spouse. So if spouses can find gainful employment, the military member is more likely to stay in, which makes for a stronger military. So, in essence, the MSEP program adds to the psychological and the physical well-being not only of the spouse, but the military family, the military member, and the military in general. It's very important, and we do appreciate you for promoting the psychological health and promoting physical health and helping our families and our military. But, now that's what we get out of it. But what do you get out of it as an employer? Well, okay, you obtain benefits from hiring military spouses. You get, and when I say benefits, the reason being is because remember when we discussed how oftentimes they're overeducated, so you've got some valuable talent. A lot of times they might be underexperienced in some areas, but they're willing to learn. And a lot of times they're very experienced due to volunteer activities. So you are gaining a valuable employer. It also benefits you by giving you recognition. It gives your organization recognition within the military community, just by word of mouth, through governmental agencies. Your name starts circulating around employment agencies, around government agencies, around family agencies. It also provides you with maybe some networking opportunities with the Department of Defense, as well as employment opportunities and connections with other MSEP partners. So it can be very valuable for both of us. First Lady Michelle Obama in October 19th, 2011 said, these companies referring to those that belong to the MSEP partnership, these are companies that are making these pledges not just because it's the right thing to do, although it is, or because it feels patriotic, although it does. They're also doing it because it's good for their bottom line. It's good for business because they know that veterans and military spouses represent the best our country has to offer, and they want them on their team. So we are very grateful to MSEP. I hope you realize how important your organization is to the military spouse. And I want to thank you very much for doing what you do and for participating. We couldn't do this without you. So once again, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, then I'm available. And if not, you have a great day. Thank you.